States, that the president of the United States, President Donald Trump, is now calling for a global coalition of probably the willing, to assist the United States and Israel to open the blockade that have been created in the Strait of Hormuz. According to President Donald Trump, Iran is putting the entire global energy situation, putting it in a very, very dangerous situation. And this is going to affect the global economy. It's going to lead to inflation and the different things. So, according to President Donald Trump, he has called on the UK Prime Minister, he has called on the Prime Minister of Japan, Prime Minister Takaishi. He has called on a lot of countries from the Asian states. He has tried all his best. He's even calling on South Korea. And what we know about South Korea is that the Prime Minister of South Korea currently, he has vehemently uh, made his discontent with um the way the United States entered South Korea to remove all the defense capability from their country, including the radar, which has triggered a chain of escalation with every passing day now. The North Korean president continues to fire different capabilities towards South Korea, even if it's not entering South Korea. You know, Kim Jong Un is a troublemaker, and is letting South Korea know now that, you see, at the end of the day, they've come and they've taken what you bought. So, and this is the doctrine of the United States. If you trade with them and they give you armament, when they are warmongers, and once the situation gets off, they are going to come back and take all those capabilities that is on shortage. Wherever they are warmongering, wherever they are fighting, they will come back to you, take those capabilities and go and use it. And only God knows when they are going to be able to replace those capabilities. So they are now inviting South Korea, they are inviting Japan. Definitely, I think Prime Minister Takaishi of Japan will actually help in some ways, because the way Japan depends solely on the energy from the Persian Gulf is very, very huge. And I think they will be left without any option, you know, than to try and help the United States with whatever they have. And according to the information we are receiving, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is now discussing ways to open the Strait of Hormuz with the President of United States. Now, here's what I think. The UK Prime Minister is a civilian without military experience. President Donald Trump is a civilian without military experience. Marco Rubio is a civilian without military experience. Who else? Who else? Pete Exet is a military personnel without quality military experience. All right. So these are the people, these are the guys that are advising the president of the United States. Okay. um yeah, I understand, I understand. Family, we are picking. I'm the kind of guy that I pick up the pace gradually, and when it comes to a point, yeah, everything will start working together. So yeah, I'm very, very tired. I go to work, I do a lot of things every day, and that is why when I talk sometimes I can hardly talk coherently, like, is because of the mental fatigue. Okay, so according to the information we've been given, the prime minister of UK is now talking to Donald Trump actively, devising ways through which they can open the Strait of Hormuz. Now, here is my opinion. I think it's going to be a complete failure. Number one, is going to be a catastrophe, because it is not a job of a civilian to plan or to discuss. I know why they are troubled. Probably troubled because it's going to affect their government. It's going to cause inflation in their country. It's going to cause an economic quagmire in their country. But here is the problem: it is not the responsibility of Pete of Keir Starmer. Okay, thank you so much, by design. Thank you so much. It is not the responsibility, okay, of Keir Starmer. It's not the responsibility of Prime Minister Takaishi, or none of the civilians have what it takes to give a proper planning on how to break whatever they call blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. You know, according to the Iranian Prime Minister, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, he said that they did not block the Strait of Hormuz. And the last time I checked, ships are still crossing the Strait of Hormuz. And there are two ships that are crossing this, two categories of tankers that are crossing the Strait of Hormuz: the Chinese tankers, the brick tankers, let's just say the brick tankers, and tankers that are now paying. This is now a known report that tankers that are paying for their oil in Chinese yuan, they are now moving through the Strait of Hormuz. So this is the United States making a catastrophic mistake. You see, what I believe is, at this point they should look for a negotiated settlement, because the longer this drags on, the more the US is going to run into traps that the Iranians have planned for them. You see, when you fight without a game plan, without a strategy, without proper preparation, you become a prey to another opponent, another formidable opponent that has probably outplanned you. You know, one thing about planning is anticipation. It's a chess game. And the thing about this whole conversation is Iran knows that the US and Israel, you know, that these guys are very, very formidable when it comes to their military, when it comes to their air force. You know, the US Air Force is very, very strong. Let's be honest. The Israeli Air Force is even strong, you know. Um, these guys are strong, let's be honest. But the problem right now is that they've already lost the war from the first day, because they've been able to throw the narrative, they've been able to throw the public opinion out of the window. The public opinion is not swaying in the direction of the United States, it's now in the direction of, you know, Iran. You can see, you know, citizens of foreign states giving coordinates, critical coordinates in Israel, giving it up, you know. The problem right now, when you look at, there was a speech recently where the United States, I think, Air Force commander and Pete Exet was talking, you know. When you look at the way the older man that was more matured and older, when you look at the way he was putting his thoughts together, you will know that this is a very, very experienced operative. I mean, Pete Exet looked like some actors in Hollywood. That was like his suit, his dress. This guy doesn't look like, the other man was wearing his ceremonial, you know, attire and everything like that. Pete Exet is very, very, he's an embarrassing individual. You know, you know, it just shows you the level that the United States is at right now. If Pete Exet is now the one, you know, carrying out a very, very critical duty for the United States, Pete Exet, it shows you how bad the United States is right now, militarily and in many other, you know, ways. A lot of people might be saying that, you know, right now the United States is getting better and all of that. No, they are not getting better. You know, if people are being killed to make you happy. That is the funny thing for those that are supporting whatever Donald Trump is doing. Just understand that people are getting killed so that you can be better, so that you can be happy. Is that what the world is supposed to turn into? And don't forget, it might come to a point where they might tell you to go back to some of these countries that have been destroyed. So, should in case a United States citizen is sitting, you know, behind the comfort of that bloody empire and you are propping them up, okay? He was a first host, absolutely. Thank you so much. Because when you look at the way he talks, he is not collected, is not matured. He has never ever in his life had anything to do with you know I don't think Pete Exet has ever been deployed to any dangerous territory before. I don't think so. He has not been involved in, even if he traveled to Afghanistan, I don't think he has ever seen, a real fight. If you look at those guys that have seen real fights, they are so calm because they know that when everything goes upside down, they are the ones that are going to be involved. They will be so calm. The guys that delete people, they are not the noisemakers. They are extremely dangerous and extremely, collected. But when you look at the way Pete Exet talk, oh, family from Liberia, thank you so much for joining. So when you look at the way he talks and all of that, it just shows you that the empire is just, in a very, very bad position right now. So, like I said, the United States and whatever coalition of the willing that Donald Trump is now calling on to help open the Strait of Hormuz so that tankers can pass. There is it's going to be futile because there is a difference here. The president of the United States is jumping on everything, and I think the decision making of the U.S. forces are being critically, influenced by Donald Trump, influenced by Pete Exet. So they are going to continue to commit a lot of, war crime. Yes, that is very, very guaranteed because of the level of maturity. And I think the United States could have done this better. Yes, there is a possibility of, launching a very clean military campaign, you know, without killing civilians. They can do it. They have the capability of doing it. But first of all, you cannot do this if you've already failed politically, because the Americans don't accept, they've not been receptive of whatever this campaign is all about. Now, if you look at the situation now, you realize that the confusion is just over the roof. First of all, it's about regime change. Another one is about saving the Iranian people. Now we're at a point where we are now talking about the greater Israel project. Now, Israel is already saying that part of the 14% of Lebanese territory is going to belong to them. Now we are hearing that okay, the next Ayatollah must be hot. Donald Trump said he has now destroyed the entire Iranian military capability and naval assets. 100%. That was what he said. Remember, he said they've destroyed the Iranian nuclear capability and infrastructure, complete obliteration. Remember, he said that they have destroyed all their fighter jets and every other critical infrastructure. Remember, he said that they have destroyed the government buildings and all of that. Remember that Pete Exet said that the Iranian political leadership, like Abbas Araghchi and President Masoud Pezeshkian, that they are hiding inside holes. Now, one thing we have been able to figure out is that, okay, for the media, right, for the narrative, the United States is winning the narrative war, if that is what they want. They tell, at least Donald Trump told you that he has destroyed, completely paralyzed the Iranian military capability. So if he has done that, why is he calling for a global coalition to open the Strait of Hormuz? And this takes us to our day one analysis. I said it. I said you are not achieving any strategic victory when you attack civilians, because the civilians are not going to be the one to stop you. No, the civilians are not going to look. It's going to get to a point where civilians can be drafted. Yes, fine. It's going to get to that point, but they are not even drafting yet. The IRGC capability is over 900,000. Over 900,000. Everything you've killed, including children, doctors, nurses, um, Red Crescent workers, right? School girls, women, you've not killed 100,000. plus the IRGC, and you have about 900,000, possibly somewhere just waiting, preparing, targeting and practicing, testing and, honing and stropping their FPV and fiber optic capability. And Trump is telling you that he has completely destroyed the Iranian capability. That is not going to happen. You see, if this plan is going to lead to anything different from a serious disaster and multiple bodies coming home in a body bag, then everything we've predicted has happened. That's the funniest part of this conflict. Everything we said. And I told you that at some point they will have no other option than to pull troops in to Iraq to go and die. That will happen. Nobody can duck this. They are going to do it, and Pete Exet is just going to come out and say, now we are going to send. Yeah, that's what they are going to say. And again, I was very, very disappointed when I was watching one of the US personnel today. He was questioned about the 2,500 Marine Expeditionary Unit, and he was talking too much. He was talking about these guys are violent, these guys are this, these guys are that. I was like, come on now. Okay. He was talking about, oh, these guys are some of the most violent in the world. These guys are this and that. No, where we are in 2026, nobody is violent. These guys have not been seen, they've not learned anything. No matter how violent you are one FPV or fiber optic drone away from getting bombed. Like the arms, the legs, the body armor, the shirt, everything, nothing will be whole again. They will pick it, they will have to carefully pick it up from deep. You cannot load out as a military personnel right now. You completely wear your PPE, you load out correctly with your probably your rifle and whatever. You're going to get destroyed completely. The drones are faster. The drones, when it comes to warfare right now, the drones, they do it all. You talk about the Baba Yaga drone. There are drones now that, send supplies and every other thing. And the last time I checked, the United States has not, they've not, IRGC released footage of missile launch preparation targeting Saudi Arabia and all of that, So the thing right now is that those 2,500, like I said, we are praying that they are going to send them to the Karg Island. And that would be the first emphatic message that Iran is going to send to the whole world. That the United States don't run the Persian Gulf anymore. That is the message they are trying to send. If we all get it or not is now our business. Remember they asked from Abbas Araghchi that are they worried about US putting boots on the ground? Now, another thing that a lot of people don't understand is that the media is another tool. They are trying to get the response from Iran. If they were dealing with a second tier nation militarily, and they ask, and Abbas are actually maybe probably just chickened out, you will see that they will deploy very quickly. Now they have to sit down again and look critically into the issue. Now, this whole conversation, countries should come, Japan should join, China should join, UK should join, and let's clear the Strait of Hormuz. It's not going to work. Because if the US can send the USS Abraham Lincoln, there is nothing you are going to put on that sea that is going to be better than what your carrier strike group can offer you. And Iran has struck the USS Abraham Lincoln to the point where the USS Abraham Lincoln is 1,000 kilometers away. That is to tell you that this whole coalition is completely, out of context. What they are doing now is, everything they are doing right now is a desperate attempt to save the situation, to save face, to tell the world that don't worry, US still got the situation under control. Iran, look, like I said from the ab initio, you don't need to talk. Once it's fight time, once it's show time, you don't need talk. See, what is working is your brain, your eyes, and probably your hands or the weapons you have. There is no time for talking when the situation is already dangerous. There's no time for that. Go and ask from the people that are on the street. Nobody talks again when the time comes. So Iran is doing less talking. They are doing more fighting. Who is more paralyzed, Israel or Iran? I'm talking about militarily. Who is more paralyzed? Both US and Iran together with Israel. Who is taking more knockdowns? Militarily, the US forward base of CENTCOM in Bahrain have been completely obliterated. That's what you call obliteration. So that is a military objective. How many civilians were killed in Bahrain? Is Bahrain still functioning properly again from the military standpoint? Iran, when you look at the precision of the missiles, that the precision is less than 5 meters, according to the information we are hearing. So when you look at how bad the primary explosion, is going to be, let's say in a situation where you're using the Koramsha for, we are seeing craters in Israel. What we are seeing is craters. We're not seeing the ordinary. Craters are being dug into, reinforced concrete. So what else? The submunition of the Koramsha 4. I think the video is now viral now. One of the submunitions, not the main Koramsha 4, dropped and eliminated everyone that was around the place. These things still have shrapnels. They carry their own, kilogram of explosive. Now, this conversation about Netanyahu being dead, alive, AI video, Netanyahu with 6 fingers, it doesn't matter at this point. If Netanyahu is dead, if he's alive, we don't look. We're not measuring the metrics of this battle by Netanyahu safety or whatever. No, if he's dead, they will shamelessly bring the report. Maybe he died from diarrhea or something, or food poisoning. They are going to find an excuse, like they've lied about the real statistic of the US casualty. They didn't tell you, the mainstream media did not tell you that, US troops were transported to Germany, right? For treatment, for emergency treatment. They didn't tell you that some of the IDF soldiers were transported to, you know, they were transported to Germany, right? So there was this propaganda video that was released today. Benjamin Netanyahu was speaking, and they wanted to confirm. So in the video, you saw Benjamin Netanyahu just trying to show the world that, look, I have 5 fingers and not 6. Have you noticed the teacup, the coffee cup? And we checked it, we double checked with the AI search engine, and it was AI video. It was AI. Now people are beginning to make multiple copies of that particular, embarrassing show right there. Hmm? They are trying so hard. So if they are now trying to cover up the uh position of Benjamin Netanyahu Oh, if Benjamin Netanyahu is alive, you know Benjamin Netanyahu. He talks, he's the one that's lead everything. And well, my opinion, I don't know if he's dead or alive, but if he's alive, it will not affect the situation on the line of contact. If he is gone, it will not affect what Israel is going to do. A lot of people think the Israeli doctrine was written by Netanyahu. No, Israel is Israel. What did you hear about what was done in Gaza? Now they are using phosphorus bomb. The Israelis are using phosphorus bomb in Lebanon. You can see. So with Netanyahu, without Netanyahu, these guys are, they are who they are, you know. So now listen to this.
Using nukes against Iran. He said we could eliminate Iran. President of the United States today said on camera, we're thinking about using nukes against Iran. He said we could eliminate Iran, make it uninhabitable forever in an hour. We could take them out by this afternoon. In fact, within an hour, they literally would never be able to build that country back. We have weapons that can do that. Well, those are nuclear weapons. The President of the United States is saying out loud, if this gets more intense, we could nuke them. And again, there's been very little attempt to convince you that we did this in America's national interest. The Secretary of State just came out and said we did it because Israel forced our hand. So they've been pretty direct about what is going on here and what the stakes potentially are. President of the United States threatening nuclear weapons. Well, that's on the table.
The President of the United States is now threatening, to deploy a nuclear weapon. Like I said, and this situation is very, very funny right now. It's funny because, for you to deploy a nuclear weapon, that means you are completely out of option, right? And from prediction, um, we know that they can do it. They are the only country that's, that lacks every moral standard, to deploy a weapon like that. But I will tell you this very, very clearly once more. If the United States deploys a nuclear weapon and they attack Iran, then the escalation might become so bad to the point that it will be one of the decisions that will change the new world. That is if there will be a new world. Okay? That is if there will be a new world. And the reason why anybody will think about using a nuclear weapon in a conflict is because you are losing the conflict. That is what the nuclear doctrine, you don't use a nuclear weapon if you have command control. If you have control of the escalation, you don't need to use a nuclear weapon. If the United States military is the greatest military the world has ever seen, they don't need to use a nuclear weapon. Like I said, if the Russian military wanted, they would have nuked Ukraine. A lot of people are talking about the fact that the nuke might destroy Russia. No, they are going to use a nuclear weapon to destroy northern Ukraine, destroy western Ukraine from Lviv downward. Is going to affect whoever. They are going to destroy southern Ukraine, like wipe everything out. They are going to encircle, probably knock out Kiev. And this is just going to be, tactical nukes. It depends on the kilogram. It depends on the, the weight of whatever you are going to be incorporating into the warhead. So that would tell you the radius of destruction that will be done. So, but Russia, so far so good, they've not deployed a nuclear weapon. They've not, because they don't need to deploy a nuclear weapon. But you can see your so-called greatest military on the planet. Now they are thinking about deploying a nuclear weapon. And Donald Trump is openly coming out to say it. You know why he's making this threat? He's making this threat because he no longer control. You can see that, You cannot defend the US. You cannot. You will be embarrassed. Defending the US military is like defending the Nigerian government. Some way, somehow, you will be embarrassed before that night. I've tried my best to talk good of these governments before, but before the end of 24 hours, you'll be embarrassed because the reality is going to come and check you. So they are talking about deploying a nuclear weapon as if Iran did not, you know, as if Iran is going to just chicken out, as if Iran does not know, okay, that as if Iran does not know that the US can deploy a nuclear weapon, okay. Mhm. So I will guarantee you, look at this US soldier, right? Look at this US soldier celebrating that they are going to be sent to Iran to Iran. This these bozos think this is Afghanistan. That is the funny thing, oh. This idiot is doing press up, right? Hey, they think this is a punch. These guys would think, look at them, look at them. Man, a lot. I'm going to be honest with you. These guys are still living in probably early 2000s. They are not aware that the calculus of modern combat has changed. Honestly, when people make this, go and look at everything I've said. You know, I've been on point so far, so good in this conflict. And I will tell you this: when I look at these guys, right, this US, look at him, right. When I look at these boys, you know what I'm saying? I'm seeing a lot of body bags. I don't see soldiers. Honestly, I don't see soldiers. I'm telling you, I'm seeing a lot of body bags. And look, I'm not saying this because I don't like the US aggression. I'm not saying this because am against the US aggression. No, that's not why I'm saying this. I am saying this because of the metrics. If they send 10,000, right? I can bet it with you over 8,000 will not return. You nobody will be left behind. Over 8,000 will be left behind. The Iranians have already prepared graves. Are you aware of that? For those invading forces, right? See, look, if you study war, you will know that war has changed completely. War is no longer what it used to be. If you look at what is going on in the Russian-Ukraine conflict, you will understand that war is not what it used to be. You know, back in the days when people use rifles and all of that, definitely I think the United States, they could do pretty well in Iran, But from what I've seen alone from the Radwan forces against the IDF, we actually know that the IDF is not one of the best military on the planet. Those guys are terrible. They have a good air force, but military infantries, they have one of the worst infantries on the planet. What Hamas did to them made me realize that these guys are not really like that. When they get to Iran, they will realize that there are some people that are, what I'll call them living lunatics, right? They will realize that it's life does not begin and end in the United States. It will be a very nice experience. And those that will return home probably with broken legs, broken ribs, and like it's not going to be like you are returning home and you are returning home and you still be able to do press up. Afghanistan taught us a lot of lessons that these guys, they don't know nothing about asymmetric warfare. And this is not just going to be asymmetric. There are things now that have changed, warfare completely. The only reason why I would be scared for Iran is if there is a deployment of, let's say, Ukrainian and Russian soldiers with Chinese forces together to counter Iran. Then I will start thinking that, man, oh, this is going to be very, very dangerous, right? But I don't still think there are answers to those hypersonic, glide vehicles. Okay, but yeah, you won't get a notification because probably maybe you didn't put your notification on all, and if you put it on all, I think there is an active you should understand what is going on with my channel. you know um yeah, you should understand. If you know, you know, right? But anyway, it is what it is. So now we are getting information that US bases in Iraq, not just Erbil, is under FPV attack. As usual, personnel has no current solution, to the FPV attack. We've seen videos where the FPV drones were just hovering around the US bases in Iraq. And to be very, the shocking aspect of it is that there was no personnel in that US base. At least there was nobody on guard. It was almost empty. We were seeing cars inside, but I think probably maybe they've evacuated the US personnel. Like I said the 2,500 expeditionary unit that have been sent to the Persian Gulf. These guys are more likely evacuation team. If you listen to some of the US former, military personnel, they said that the 2,500 Marine Expeditionary units, they are evacuation units. What in hell will 2,500 personnel do against 900,000? Against civilians that are ready to take out your fucking brain, against resistance group. The guys that are fighting them in Iraq, they are a resistance group. I don't even know that those guys exist. The guys currently giving them a whole lot of problem in Iraq, we don't even know that they exist from only God knows where. And they continue to attack. They are unstoppable. And I can guarantee you, Iraq wants them to leave. I don't think the Iraqis want the US boats in their country anymore. That's why they call them the occupation forces. Now, let's even assume that the US personnel in Iraq, they now start deploying nets, right? All the terrorists will have to do, or what am I? All the resistance group, they will just have to do is to fire artilleries into those nets. Everything tears once more, and they're going to probably, if they deploy the electronic warfare, they are going to deploy the fiber optic drone. This is going to be bad. They've been destroying that base since noon. Now this night there is fire all over the place. What are they going to do about it? At least we have not seen any clear solution. There is no clear solution to those little drones. So somebody said they are going to send 300,000 personnel. Then send them. You know, Gone are the days where soldiers, you carry rifle, another one carry rifle, then you start taking your left, clear right, and all those things. No, this is not. This is modern combat. And even if you hide at night, those drones can see you. If you go and check the Russian-Ukraine war, the cameras have infrared sensors. They will be able to see the heat map. People get killed day and night. The Spetsnaz of Russia, they are some of the best on the planet. But they still get picked up by these drones. These drones have made us understand that nobody is bulletproof. You develop capability, they develop counter capability. So this is going to be a very, very tough war. And the fact that you are fighting in Iran is not Iraq. If you look at the terrain of Iran, you have a lot of hills, you have mountains, you have some part of Iran that's, the hills are, they filled with forest and all of that. So You should prepare. Some people should prepare to get themselves covered in those Iranian dusts. I know a lot of people in the United States don't get legitimate information. I know, I'm very, very aware of that. That people, your media, they lie to you in the US. Nobody will tell you the true reality of Operation Tango Tango in Niger Republic. Do you see how those US guys were shot into the sound? They were shot like man, don't let these people see. The reality is far more dangerous than what you are being told and all of that. The operation in Mogadishu, it came to a point they were firing sporadically. Everybody became a threat. The coordination was gone. The QRF team that was sent, you know, they were taking the heat too. You know, how come Mr. Williams is the only one that's connected on your live screen? Do you care about us anymore? Mr. Williams, who is Mr. Williams? I don't even know any Mr. Williams. Nobody is even to me, everybody is typing on my live stream. I'm seeing messages from everyone. I am listening to everyone. I am looking at the comments and I'm responding. Is there any problem? Mr. M. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that name. I know everyone in the Android community, almost everyone that is active enough to drop a comment in the comment section, but I don't know any Mr. M. No, we here. Thank you so much. Yeah, I pay attention to everybody. Oh, Michael Williams. Okay, yeah, he's being active. He's responding. So that is it. So now, according to the information we have right now, the Iranians are claiming through their media that there is a high probability that Benjamin Netanyahu has been killed. Okay, okay, you are seeing everybody now. All right, all right. According to information, they said he was killed during the strike on his apartment that took out his brother. And guess what? We are talking about Benjamin Netanyahu. The next question I'm going to ask you: where's Ben Gavir? These guys are gone. Have you seen Ben Gavir since that strike? These are prominent figure in Israel. These are guys that they are never too far away from the media. Where is Ben Gavir? It's gone. So that Palestinian man he threatened with, that he said he was going to give the guy 2 hours, and after 2 hours he was going to arrest him if he doesn't evacuate his landed property. Ben Gavir is not going to be able to take that land anymore. You know, and the Iranians are still saying that if possibly Benjamin Netanyahu somehow, some way is not gone, that before the conflict ends, they will take him out. It's an eye for an eye. I don't know if a lot of people get it. From New York. Oh, well done, my brother. Ben Gavir is gone. Thank you very much. He's gone. You are never going to see these guys again. They are not coming back. And do you know why you don't have the right information right now? It's because from the beginning of the conflict till now, Israel has taken it to the point where we've gone from censorship, military grade censorship. Get it? It's not just that they are telling civilians not to post. When you're about to post, as long as you're within Israel, your post is always vetted before it goes out. If you're trying to post something that looks like you know it's not going to go. Facebook is going to stop it. As long as you are posting from inside Israel, Facebook is going to stop you. Whatever you are using. Where is BB? We don't know where he is. See, look, BB Netanyahu is the first human being, not just president. I don't know if Adolf Hitler wasn't here. BB Netanyahu is the first human being that I've seen in my lifetime that people are celebrating is should I say is is anticipated demise, right? And if you look at the level of warmongering from Netanyahu, man, to be honest with you, right? Pete is the neighbor. You know, when Pete exit is not you despise BB. I mean, to be honest, I'm not happy, right? Let me be honest with you. I am not happy that anyone lose their life. I am not. It's not something to be happy about. We all are human beings, but Netanyahu is a troublemaker. To be honest, and it's I don't know if it will affect anything. If it's even gone, I don't know if it's going to affect anything because I think for quite a while now, he has been able to pour that venom into his son. And when you look at the number of times his son celebrates a lot of terrible things that their government, their regime is carrying out in Iran, in Palestine, in wherever, you will know that yes, this is another black mamba here. Okay. So we don't know, but like I said, whatever happens to Bibi Netanyahu is not going to change the realities on the line of contact. I think America can do better in any conflict, but they are not doing better right now because the command control is in the hands of people that are not competent. Let's be honest. Let's call a spade a spade. The command control of the American military is not in the hand of honest people. It's not in the hand of matured people. When you listen to the press conference of Pete Exet, like you will be marveled that is this the same United States? You know, and now we are hearing that Iran has now launched a missile called the Seji missile. This is the first time they are launching this capability, this ballistic missile, since the beginning of the conflict. According to information, this missile is a solid fuel missile, and it's very hard to detect because mid-flight it has a very high maneuverability. So, ladies and gentlemen, we don't even know how much Segi missile. Now, this is a new name. I don't know. We don't know how much they have, right? Now, this does not take away from the fact that there might be some launchers, right, that have been destroyed inside Iran. It is fair to say that they are equally destroying some of the launchers. Now, they are not just destroying only the launchers, they are equally destroying, dummies. They are destroying paintings, right? So we cannot tell. Now, see, look, this war is so embarrassing on the side of on the side of the aggressors because you cannot tell what they are actually destroying. I don't know who is naming those missiles, right? I don't know. Say G missile, right? Now, the reason why we cannot give any type of good credit to the United States and Israel, right? Because you know, they are destroying balloons, they are destroying paintings, like they are destroying dummies, they are destroying, and they are and I believe that they are equally destroying real targets alongside too. So, but the funny aspect of it is that you cannot assess the success of their military with everything they are doing. Omar Keita, brother Omar, wait, brother Omar, are you the one? With XZTC. And to be honest with you, I think none of those guys in the US government right now should ever be allowed in any because they are young now. None of those guys should ever be allowed. America must now cleanse themselves from Zionism. The Zion, I don't know how many Zionists you have in the US right now. But as long as you have those people, America is now looking like a proxy of Israel. That is what America looks like right now under Donald Trump. A complete proxy. Bibi Netanyahu was seen on social media bragging before this conflict that he will come to, was it Washington? I think the mayor of that particular state is Mamdani, right? The most unprofessional administration ever. Thank you very much. The most unprofessional. Like, I have never seen. Look, the US have been mongering forever, right? But they've never ever looked this incompetent. This is complete incompetence. And it's very, very exasperating. You know, to me, Donald Trump should not talk about this conflict anymore. As the president, just come out and tell the world that, okay, we are working on the economy, the economic situation. We are trying all our best. We are trying to make sure that the economic situation of the, of everyone comes back to normal. That is all for you. That is all. No, to talk about we have destroyed 100%. Donald Trump is saying one thing, Marco Rubio, Pete Exet is saying another thing. Like, this is so embarrassing. You are saying that you've completely destroyed the naval assets 100%. You've destroyed the air force. You've been able to knock out. He said 100%. They've completely obliterated everything. And in the same post on Truth Social, you are asking people to join you, other countries to join you to protect the Strait of Hormuz. He said they can actually, launch a couple miles and all of that. But you said, do you know the meaning of 100%? Ah, man. To be honest, the US is in trouble. I don't know how you got those people into your government, but man, there's a lot of trouble right now. So now we have another information, right? So, according to credible information, okay, they said the US have now spent $21 billion in this war with Iran without any clear objective in sight. $21 billion and counting. Let's be very, very clear with that. And counting. $21 billion. That's huge. That's the US. We've not talked about what France, the United Kingdom, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan. We are not even talking about the level of damage those guys have taken. Now, this is what they've spent, like, offensively. That's what they've spent. So, from the defensive standpoint, the bases that have been destroyed, the multi-million-dollar raiders that have been destroyed, they've lost so much in this conflict. If you put up the cumulative figure, it's a complete embarrassment. Now, let me tell you why this is going to only get worse from here. Is because the question right now for the US is that, what is your main objective now? Regime change? The regime is still active, and they are even walking on the streets during the during the Quad day. They moved with their citizens. They were shaking the hands of even Ali Larijani. That was my biggest shock. Was there walking with the people, right? So if you have so much domination and superiority in the skies, why are they still walking so freely? And now we have a situation, the division they are trying to create, right? The division they're trying to create has failed. It was about the protests. Man, who will trust the United States again after this conflict? Yes, let's be honest. Who will ever trust them again after this conflict? It was about the protests. Nobody, in fact, when I looked at the protests at first, I thought maybe the Iranians were just tired of their economic situation. And to be honest, anybody looking at the economic situation of Iran just from the ordinary range, then you are making a lot of mistake. The destruction of that economy was carefully orchestrated. It was carefully carried out. It was not something they did once. It was gradual. It was gradual. And when you look at the way they destroy this economy, they create dollar shortage. That is part of it. This thing have happened in so many countries. is to create regime change, to command to create command control, to destroy the shred of that country economically, and people lose their identity and a lot of things like that. It happened in Venezuela. It's happening in Cuba right now. See, the 2026 is, I thought it was going to be a good year. I thought 2026 was going to be better. Yes. I thought 2026 was going to be better. And now, after this conflict, the world is going to, in fact, the world is going to become more unsafe. Yes. Because everybody now, overtly and covertly, they will now be running towards the nuclear weapon. That nuclear weapon, now, you know that no one knew how Kim Jong-un, the president of North Korea, got his first nuclear weapon. Nobody knew. They said probably maybe he got it from the black market. There are a lot of speculations out there. The black market will now be very, very good right now. In fact, people will be overtly or covertly asking regimes, do you want a nuclear weapon? We can provide one. Everybody will be looking for a nuclear weapon right now. Look at what is happening in Cuba. Do you know how many people have died in Cuba? So this is the US regime openly telling the world that you can no longer rely on us. We are not dependable. You cannot trust us. We are very shameless. We can do and undo. We can no longer uphold global justice. Imagine the US fighting a war of land grabbing on behalf of Israel. So you voted for Zoran Mandami. All right. That's a very good. That's a very, very competent personnel or US official in the United States. That's a very competent one. So I'm going to say this, right? We're now hearing a new information. Remember, I said this early on. I said the only way the United States can do any significant damage right now in Iran is if they can get intelligence assets on the ground. And guess what just happened? Iran has now arrested 500 personnel for giving information to Israel. 500. Right? 500 assets. Now, when you hear this personnel talk, these are not foreign nationals. These are nationals within the country. Espionage. You are remodified to hate. You are rejigged. You are recalibrated to destroy your country. Right? That's what we're seeing right now. You see those 500, the Iranians, yes. But before this happened, economically, the country would have been trampled upon. The US would have gradually destroyed the country from outside inside. Now it's now going to be from inside outside. I kind of blame some Iranians, okay? Because this same thing happened. What is going on in Iran right now is going on in Cuba. So the thing is, some of the Iranians that are shouting Allahu Akbar, death to America and all of that, I look at them and I don't feel anything in my mind, because some of you protested, but when those bombs started flying and you discovered that the bomb did not negotiate, they found out so quick that the bomb did not negotiate. Okay, no, 500. They've just been arrested. And this evening, another 20 have been captured. Some of these hoodlums discovered that the bomb did not negotiate. Some of the ones in diaspora, they've now, they don't even know if their families are still alive. The network connection is somehow impaired. So nobody knows what. Now the reality is here. But it's too late. You asked for it and you are going to get it. Same thing that happened in Nigeria. Now, the thing is, once they employ the assets, they can activate them at any time. The only reason the situation inside Iran is not worse right now is that Iran has been able to compromise internet. They have been able to compromise the internet. Now, today, the US correspondent was asking Abbas Arakshi that how come Abbas Arakshi and the government official have access to the internet and their citizens don't? He said for security reasons. Absolutely. They would have been able to trigger a lot of dangerous uprising. They would have been able to activate their assets if not for that measure that Iran taking. And the funny thing is, China knows this now. Russia knows this. A lot of other countries are beginning to see everything right now. So the doctrine of the CIA has been given to China. So just in case they plan to attack China in the future, everybody is looking at what you are doing right now, and they are going to, create measures. They're going to build up measures to stop everything. Now we are getting a huge information, right? Taiwan has now detected a large-scale military presence near the Taiwan Strait. According to the information we are hearing, Taiwan detected large-scale Chinese military aircraft presence near the island. Political reports. For me, I think this is the best time for China to crush Taiwan. I don't know when they are going to do it, but I think we are getting close to that point. Probably when the United States defense capability runs out, I think Iran has what it takes to destroy everything. It's just a little bit more time. If the Russians can lose over 28 million soldiers or citizens and all of that against Germany, then the war have not even started. A lot of people don't understand what you call war of attrition. Can you estimate the number that have died in Ukraine and Russia since 2022? You can't anymore. The number is too much. So if we are not careful, that is the type of conflict we might be looking at in the Persian Gulf. And just in case Donald Trump continues to threaten, the application of a nuclear weapon, if he does, how are we sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon? Seeing everything that have happened, this war now is 3 weeks. No strategic objective has been accomplished. So we are still here counting the roof. Donald Trump continues to give press conference, to give diversional therapy to some people that supports him. He's trying to make them happy. This false hope. And like I said, I'm going to say again, what have the US accomplished in this conflict so far other than killing civilians? Yes, diversional therapy. That's what they are doing. Oh, we are hitting them hard. That's Peter Exet. We are hitting them hard, and just like it should be. I know. Yeah, come on, man. That's the most incompetent human being I've seen in my life. Oh man. So I think the time. I think at this point, Taiwan cannot dock this smoke. They will never be able to dock it because now Taiwan has suddenly become an existential threat to China. A lot of people, you might be looking at it from the perspective, because if China is not careful, the US will try to use that highland against China. Okay. So what I feel right now is that I think China, the attack and the takeover of Taiwan will now be imminent. It is not negotiable anymore. Because if they don't, because at this point the argument is clear, the US is going to use Taiwan to destabilize China. So it's just like having multiple carrier groups near China. That's what it means. I know that China will bomb the hell out of that island if anything of such happen, but the truth is Taiwan must be prepared right now. The hour of regret is coming close and is already close. So if they are saying, the question for Taiwan right now is that, okay, you've noticed Chinese military presence around you. What are you going to do about it? There is nothing you can do about it. There is nothing Taiwan can do about it. If anything, China might wipe out everything, to reduce civilian casualty, you know. And if if the regime in Taiwan, if they think they stand a chance against China, then they should go and think again. And whatever military deployments America has over there, I think they just have to leave. Because the more they stay, the more the problem. When that hour of regret, when that button is being tipped, nothing will stop China from knocking everything out. So Donald Trump should be very careful what he's asking for. This coalition should come, that coalition should come. We are gradually approaching World War III. And once one of those nuke flies, it's not like people are going to send nuke to Israel. No. If one nuke fly, it might trigger a chain of reaction. Like I said, we don't know if Iran has a nuclear bomb. We don't. So if Iran, if they hit, right? US have been embarrassed on the world stage. Thank you so much. That's a fact. Embarrassed completely. Before this conflict, when Donald Trump say we are the greatest military on the planet, you can still argue. You can still contend that, okay, arguably they are the best. But this conflict has been able to expose the Batara in the trade that you are nothing. They have been able to give Iran. See, look, let me tell you something, right? What the United States have been trying to avoid, right? Now they are getting it. Thank you very much. Asymmetric warfare is the ultimate equalizer. And the rules of asymmetry is that the stronger side will continue to lose. And the funny thing about asymmetric warfare is time is your friend. The longer it gets, the more damaging it will get for the stronger side. So this old kabuki theater and theatrics they've been doing, we are going to send boots on the ground, we are going to do this and that, is a lie. We are not in 1960, right? So let me tell you another thing. They are just trying to weigh the option of boots on the ground. There is nothing, Europe does not have any reasonable contribution to this conflict. They will not do anything reasonable in this conflict. Do you know why? Their most experienced personnel, they have been sent to Ukraine, and most of them have been, served their 72 virgins. Europe, they've sent some of their best personnel to Ukraine, and they've all been killed. So don't just look at it like, oh, maybe there is going to be this sudden build up somewhere. No. There is a reason why the United States president is calling on Japan. When Donald Trump said he was going to take Greenland, did you notice the number of deployments the European countries sent? So the truth is, this war would only lead to more catastrophe for the entire West if they send a coalition to go and escort soldiers through the Strait of Hormuz. I promise you, the plan is to demilitarize them. So whatever they might try to, the funny thing is that mission is going to fail and they are going to lose people. So now let's say they draft can you replace the experience? Can you replace the quality? Even if some of these personnel are not experienced. Yes, they've not seen at least the updated version of modern warfare. That is what is going on in Ukraine. And any serious escalation from Japan, could probably get them a nuke on their own back. So, I mean, everybody just needs to tread carefully. And I think Kim Jong-un is deliberately looking for the smoke right now. Because, let me tell you something, these nations, they know that the United States is at its weakest right now. They know. They know the US continues to say on social media that Iran is in their weakest. If they are no, you are in your weakest. Ukraine has diminished the United States defensive stockpile. That was why when Donald Trump came in, he said they will now be selling. He said that Europe will be paying. And now, probably some of the US think tanks would have told Donald Trump that this is the wrong time. But because of the Epstein, because of the number of times that the US president name was being mentioned in the Epstein file, right? Somebody said over 5,000 times, right? Because of that, they will have to go to Israel to go and fight on behalf of Israel. I've never seen a group of people so compromised. They have to fight on behalf of Israel and die for Israel. The reason is because everybody, they can't avoid this because Donald Trump, he has all his name, all over the Epstein file. So he would do see, look, I'm telling you, whatever Benjamin Netanyahu demands, that is what Donald Trump will do. That is what he will do. There is no hope right now. United States of Israel, thank you very much. The Epstein file is still alive, with or without Benjamin Netanyahu. So Donald Trump knows. So so now I believe that everybody is preparing. We are getting look, we are getting closer to World War III. We are very, very close. Any significant change in the escalation ladder will trigger World War III. The dead hand is on that button already. And a lot of population will be wiped out. Let's just be honest. It's going to be very, very fast and very destructive. So Donald Trump is already talking about nuclear weapon, right? That will be the opportunity for a lot of people to wipe out a lot of people. I'm telling you, because if you deploy your nukes against Iran, what we don't know is if Iran has the chance of a second strike. And trust me, if Iran has nukes right now, you're already threatening them with nuke. So you are telling them to go and look for an option for a mutual destruction. This is going to be very, very dangerous. And I can promise you that immediately they launched that nuke and everybody discovered that. I'm telling you, within a week, we might not have South Korea again. And within a week, we might not have Taiwan again. And who knows what will happen to Europe. So, because according to the information we are getting now, a lot of people in Russia, they are very, very angry with Vladimir Putin because they believe that Russia has what it takes to end the war very quickly. And they don't know what Vladimir Putin is trying to achieve by keeping the war, protracted. I understand that Vladimir Putin wants, an attrition war where he will completely destroy everything in Ukraine. One thing that people don't understand about war of attrition is that the military, any type of military capability in that country will be completely wiped out. That country will be turned to a military laughing stock, you know. But a lot of people are saying, why not just wipe these people out? But we'll see if Vladimir Putin is right or if it's wrong. We'll see. And don't forget, Vladimir Putin has been targeted. But we'll continue to monitor the information. Now, a United States correspondent was asking the foreign minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, about the safety of 4 American prisoners in Iran. They were asking Abbas Araghchi if those prisoners are safe. And Abbas Araghchi said one thing. He said the safety is in the hands of the US and Israel. As long as they don't bomb the prison, those American personnel will be safe. So I think right now the Europeans are now looking for a second option to energy. I think they are very, very arrogant and they don't want to bring down their ego and talk to Russia. I think they're now trying to attack Niger Republic. Now they are now saying that the Nigerian leadership should release Bazoum and all of that. Like I said, I don't know why the Nigerian leadership kept Bazoum to that point. The reason why they want Bazoum right now is they want to start using the nuclear energy, and all of that, but they will fail. They've been failing. They've been failing all day long, and they will continue to fail. I don't believe that they can record any significant success anywhere right now militarily. I'm talking about Europe, because Europe don't have the political structure, they don't have the financial backup, they don't have the manufacturing capability right now. Germany, being the manufacturing powerhouse of Europe, have been completely damaged. We know the last time the Rafale Dassault stocks, the last time they tried to put some shoe shine on it, it was completely destroyed. Because the Indian Pakistan conflict was the first time the world will really, really see the Rafale Dassault in action. And Pakistan actually sent those, they destroyed that company completely. It was not just destroying the Indian credibility, they equally destroyed that company. So, and after that time, we've never heard anything reasonable about the Rafale Dassault anymore. So, so I don't know, but what I would say at this point is that this is the time for Africa to come together and put heads together to make sure that they avoid and they stand together against any European attempt to find an equalizer in Africa, because the only equalizer that Europe has right now is Africa. Africa is the last hope for them right now. You know, a lot of people have been talking about Prime Minister Modi um, being a very, very good intercessor. They've been saying that Prime Minister Modi can, equalize on both sides and he can negotiate peace between Iran and the United States. But I don't think America will settle for peace. Why? I think the American bases have been destroyed. And one of the requests of Iran for Iran's safety, because Iran already sees America presence around her as an existential threat. That's why Iran is currently saying that the US must leave the Persian Gulf completely. And the US leaving the Persian Gulf only means one thing, that to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, which is very, very important to the oil export from the. So Iran might now be making demands that everybody must now be, paying for that oil in Chinese yuan, and that will only mean that that will be the end of the petrodollar. And if you take out the the influence of the dollar in the Persian Gulf, it's like it's like the US economy will be taking a very huge knockdown, if not a knockout. So but the US have control over the Venezuelan oil. But I think again, the Indians might have lost their credibility after they openly admitted that they gave away the Iranian, crew members that were destroyed. And for if you did it, and you denied being involved, is a different conversation. The fact that the Indian representative came out on the social media, openly, said that they did it. I don't know if Prime Minister Modi still has any credibility. For me, I think cheap labor, because of the Indian population. But the next thing, I feel like a lot of people, they are overestimating India. India is not what everybody think they are. Yes, they have a large population. What else? Are they honest people? Can they be trusted? In terms of military, are they strong? India is nowhere when you talk about military, because we actually thought they were this superpower until Pakistan showed them that they were nobody, like they were nothing. That conflict with Pakistan actually showed us, um, said everything about India. India is not close to being superpowers. And you having a nuclear weapon does not make you a superpower. Please, let's be honest with ourselves. If you are a nuclear state and you are fighting against another nuclear state, and that nuclear state have the capability of launching a preemptive decapitation assault, you might not have the opportunity to launch a second strike. It depends. There are strategic command control structures that will be knocked out, and you would not have the opportunity for a second strike. So, the way Iranians have gone berserk, I won't be surprised they have a nuclear weapon. Yes, I think they have a nuclear weapon. Their arrogance, should I call it arrogance? I think, when you look at the way Iran has been talking, I won't deny, I think they have something. They might not have a nuclear weapon, but I think they have something. I think they have something. And they believe that a tactical nuke will not do it. I believe, like, a tactical nuke will not do it. If you think a tactical nuke will do it, then let's see. And if they launch a nuke, that might be the end of the Persian Gulf, and that might be the end of Israel. Why? We don't know if they have a nuke. If they have a nuke, will Israel be able to stop those hypersonic nukes that will be coming? Because the Iranian nukes are game changers. They are not just ordinary nuclear weapon. They are hypersonic nuclear weapon. France does not have hypersonic nukes. Russia has hypersonic nukes because they have the Oreshnik that might carry both conventional and nuclear warhead. Most of the Western states don't have a hypersonic nuclear weapon. And when we talk about nuclear weapon, the tactical nuke can be carried with your F-35 and all of that. But I know why they are saying that Iran should not have this, because if Iran can develop a nuclear bomb, I'm telling you, Iran will be the new king in the Persian Gulf. I think after this conflict, if Iran, whichever way it ends, if they want to maintain their sovereignty, they want to make sure that they stop all threats, I think they need to work very, very well on their air force. I think they need it. They need a very, very good air force. I think they don't only need a very they need to get trained. And I think China or Pakistan can do that. Okay. So for me, I think you know from now we'll see what ends the conflict, and that's going to be very, very decisive for the future of the United States petrodollar. I don't know if the United States suffer a failure in this conflict. That is why they can't fail in this conflict, because Donald Trump understand the economic effects of a failure in the Persian Gulf. Now it will not only be the end of the US hegemony. I think the US will still have some influence around the West, but it's going to be very, very dangerous. It's going to be very, very dangerous. And I love this conflict for one more reason. A lot of life have been lost. My condolence. I love this conflict because I think the United States have been successfully checked. That check and balance, they've been checked, not even by China or Russia. The US have been checked by Iran. I think the warmongering will still continue, but now it will now be with caution. I think till the a lot of people are saying Cuba, a lot of people are saying Turkey. I think the US will not try to embarrass themselves beyond this because they've been checked, because Iran have been able to show them that, look, you are not what you think you are. So I think it's time for the US to now go back, re-strategize, and rethink their. They need to rethink their strategy, and they need to reassess themselves because they have been checked. That's one thing about every bully. When you hit back at bullies, they fold, they turn back, they leave. So the US will now understand that China, now they will understand that China and Russia, they are really, really powers in their own right. And this is going to be the beginning or the birth of multipolarity. Multipolarity has come to stay. Nothing is going to move it anymore. And that is what Iran is trying to do right now. Iran is trying to send that message loud and clear that we are no longer in the unipolar, rule-based world. This is, you know, the era of multipolarity. So we will see. So it will now be down to where you want to belong, what side you want to belong to. It will now be a voluntary decision, like the Alliance of Sahel State have right now. They have that voluntary option of choosing what side they want to belong to. Madagascar they've chosen the multipolar bloc. I think Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, they've chosen the multipolar bloc. We'll see what happens. Mali has no collaboration with the US as we speak. Burkina Faso have no military collaboration with the United States or the West in terms of security as we speak. Niger Republic has no military collaboration. But what they are trying to do right now is to force flag an abduction just to try to show some things. But we will find out what they are trying to show. Let's not forget there are still Russian troops inside the Alliance of Sahel States. Over 2,000 Russian personnel. So if whatever they are trying to do, you know, they might not be prepared for it. And they might equally be surprised, just the way they are being surprised in Iran right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, um, this is where we'll end the video. You can actually drop your um, um, you can actually drop your questions in the comment section below, because tomorrow what I will try to do right now is that I will answer questions right now during morning live stream. That's what I will do right now. So I'll come back and I will you know give answers to the questions. Anything you want to ask, just leave it in the comment section. I would break everything down, and tomorrow morning I would answer the question of the entire community. I think this is a new it's a new design we want to incorporate into the Android community right now. Your questions will be answered every morning. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't miss that session. And if you've not clicked on the notification bell icon, you can put it on all so that once we are available for that live stream, you will be notified. And I will always give a 1 hour um, time. I will give it this time lapse so that you can always be prepared for it. Thank you, and God bless you. You're just checking in. Oh, I'm so sorry. I love you all, man. And have a wonderful night rest.